Hello, friends. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm your host, Zen Garcia.
Rabbi Eleazar said that the giants sprang from the union of the angels with the daughters of Cain, who walked about in immodest clothing and cast their eyes around in bold glances. Legends of the Patriarchs and the Prophets. Welcome, friends. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. This is Secrets Revealed here on Truth Frequency Radio. And as always, we greatly appreciate all of you taking the time to join us in live broadcasts. We will be doing our ongoing, continued chapter by chapter, verse by verse study of the Book of Enoch. And I'm joined by my co host, Rob Skiba, this evening. Rob, are you there, brother?
I am here. How are you, Zen?
I'm doing good, man. How's it going with the planting and the gardening and all of whatever else you've been up to and into?
Well, I posted something on Facebook the other day of a picture of 5 little beans. My first produce so far.
All right.
My 5 beans that cost me about $100 each. Because I certainly spent a lot of money on landscaping and building boxes and dirt and seeds and all kinds of stuff that's involved with gardening. So that's why my 5 beans were so expensive. It made me think about the third seal, right? It costs a day's wage for food.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to be reliant on manna at this rate, but no. Actually, no, it's going pretty good. Those were the first and one small strawberry I had. But I'm starting to see other beans starting to grow. Cucumber plants like 5 feet tall. It's starting to flower.
Nice.
I assume after it flowers, it begins to produce, cucumbers. But I've got some pretty good growth. The problem is, man, birds and bugs and
right.
It's like you finally get plants to live. To get past the seedling stage, and then it's like, okay, you're dealing with water versus the sun. Now it's bugs versus birds, and I don't know how anything manages.
But. Yeah, that is part of the process. But yeah, it's always the flowering because, a lot of people, they like to plant beautiful flowers, but I find that a lot of the vegetables are beautiful in their flowering as well, and so.
Yeah.
And you get food from it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping we, get at least a decent amount of food out of it to justify the expense that went into it.
Well, at least you are producing some, and yeah, it's a learning process. So you'll get better and better every year, and the yield will increase more and more. And so.
Well, I certainly made a lot of mistakes this year, and so hopefully I've learned from those mistakes and won't make them again next year. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, first time doing it, you're going to make a ton of mistakes. Although I could have avoided probably 90% of them if I just would have taken the time to watch videos and stuff first and do what I said instead of watching the videos after I did it.
Right.
And reading the directions after I did it.
What fun would that be, then?
Well, where's the fun in that, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Totally.
Any updates on seed?
The people in South Africa are sending me some. Now that we've signed off on the animation and the camera angles, we're starting to populate the environments with the trees and stuff like in the jungle and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And really filling it all out now. So I'm excited about that. And for those who have responded online or sent me emails saying that they would like to get involved, I haven't forgotten about you. I've been actually trying to organize my inbox because I get so many emails just trying to say, okay, these people are interested in acting. These people are interested in CGI. These people are, game development or whatever. So right now I'm in the process of organizing those who have contacted us. And I'm trying to make an effort to get back to people. So, and also people who have ordered products recently because we had sold out. I'm up to date now. So if anything you've ordered recently and you've been waiting for, it's in the mail. So that's out there. So yeah, man, I'm hopeful. I've been watching the making of the Mandalorian TV series.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I really enjoyed The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And the making of, I'm really, really enjoying. There's been like 6 of them, I think, so far. And the technology that they're pioneering and that they're using for that series is really, really exciting. And I've got a meeting with a guy who is one of the founders of that type of pioneering of that type of technology.
Uh-huh.
I'm be meeting with him locally for lunch next Thursday. So.
Yeah, it's very cool seeing the origins of Yoda and the background story for all that.
Yeah. Very cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So did you get more of I know that you had sold out of your comic books?
Yeah, that I haven't. I still need to do. I need to order the non-collector's edition versions. So that needs to be done too. Dude, like I got a never-ending to-do list. So
Right, I understand.
It's just piling up. I'll get to that too.
Right. Well, anything else that you wanted to cover before we move into the?
No, I think I'm ready to jump into it. I mean, it's just right now. I mean, I'm sure you're frustrated by it too. The whole world's just going completely psycho, man.
Right.
And I just wish that we could have civilized discussion about racism and all the issues that are going around right now. It's just everybody's so emotionally charged, and granted, Facebook and social media is really not the best place to do it because you can't hear tonal inflections or see, what the person is thinking or look in their eyes or whatnot.
Right.
Like for instance, I posted a picture that I saw of a tree that had been blown over probably in a storm or something. It's all alone in this field, like this big tree knocked over in a field, but it's the tree didn't give up. Like it's just grew sideways. Like, so if you imagine the trunk laying down on the ground, tree grew up off the trunk, quite tall, all the branches that weren't on the ground that were facing up grew into a tree in and of itself.
Yes.
I'm like, and I just
Adapt.
I looked at the picture of that tree and the odds of that tree surviving, and I just said, so what's your excuse for giving up, right?
Right.
That's just across the board for anybody, for me included. I mean, I have my times where I'm just like, oh, woe is me or whatever.
Right.
And, people just like took it the wrong way. So I had to keep editing and like modifying what I meant by it. I was like, look, for crying out loud, all I'm saying is if this tree can do it, how much more so should we, with the power of the Holy Spirit, and our Heavenly Father, do better, to overcome whatever, this tree clearly overcame some dire circumstances, to still, rise above it,
right,
so to speak. But it's just so emotionally charged right now. It's unbelievable. However, I've had, I've got a lot of friends from a wide variety, pretty much pick a color, pick an ethnicity. I've got plenty of friends on the whole spectrum, but there's one in particular I grew up with. We've known each other since kindergarten and we're still close and just had a really good conversation. I think it was last Sunday, for a good couple of hours probably. And, just wanted to pick his brain about all this and learned a lot from him about things that he experienced that I had no clue about. I mean, I was like one of his best friends and I had no idea the crap that he had to put up with. And, I told him about stuff that I had to put up with and he had no idea about the crap that I had to put up with. And, it just goes to show that everybody's got baggage. Everybody's got a history. Everybody's got hurt.
Right.
And we could just, we're all against racial injustice. I think across the board. I mean, there's probably a few, idiots out there, prejudice or whatever, but that's the rare exception. I mean, I've been all over this country and I dare say I've been pretty close to all over the world. And for the most part, by and large, easily 90+% of the world is not prejudiced.
Right.
Everybody just wants to love and be loved. And for most part, they don't care about color, But, where I grew up in Massachusetts, right, the town I grew up in was Chicopee, and it was predominantly Polish. But a slang derogatory term against Polish was Polak. And the reason for Polak was when many of the Polish that came to Chicopee back in the beginning of the 20th century, they didn't speak English. And when they got off the boat in New York, they were looking for Chicago. and they saw Chicopee, and they thought it was Chicago. So they went to Chicopee looking for the automotive industry or whatever to get jobs or whatever. And people are like, what are you, an idiot? There's no automotive industry here, So, Polak became, these guys are idiots, right? Well, no, they just didn't speak English, But I heard that growing up, but I just turned around and said, yeah, I'm so Polish to put the ski in front of the name.
Right.
Because most of my friends had names that ended in ski,
Yes.
Ski. But I mean, the Hispanic were in Holyoke, the next town over, and the slang for them was Spicks because no spickety English, right? Right? They called them Spicks. And we had the Wops, the Italians without papers in Ludlow, and in the Irish in Springfield, and like everybody had their own
term.
And they had the derogatory terms.
Yeah.
And most of these are white people. And I'm like, look, guys, I get it. There is injustice, and let's put our focus on that, not on race, not on color, not on historical backgrounds, whatever. Let's deal with the current issue of injustice. Period.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, do I really want to? There's a huge part of me that wants to address this publicly because I have a public platform.
Yes.
And then there's another part of me is like, dude, I got so many other things to do. Do I really need to stick my head in this bee's nest along with all the other ones that I'm my head in?
Right. Yeah, you just opened up the whole feminine Holy Spirit thing. I mean, that should be enough for this year, right?
Oh, wait. Well, let's see, serpent seed.
Yeah, exactly.
Feminine Holy Spirit. Race game now. Like, I need another whack in the head from 1,000 people. Speaking of that, I heard one of your shows you did. I guess it was a fairly recent post that you put up. It wasn't really a debate. It was like you're on a show with somebody else and you're talking about serpent seed and going through it. I'm through it. That was really good. That was a good show.
Yeah, the Kingdom Context guy. Yeah, Kingdom in Context. He runs that platform.
Yeah, that was a good show.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I thought he allowed me to present and again, when you look at it with open mind and examine the fullness of what is available in connection to this, it's difficult to deny, in my opinion, but not a lot of people are open to embracing it as teaching, and so that's the same thing with flat earth. It's difficult for people to overcome their indoctrination and their already preconceived notions and biases against a particular topic or issue, and because of that, they can't receive something new.
Well, I've been getting some emails recently as a result of our shows that we're doing, and people, really taking a hard look at this stuff because, so many people, just like myself and maybe you as well, before coming into biblical cosmology, Enoch was complete gibberish in the chapter that we're going over right now. But when you add biblical cosmology to the understanding of the chapters that we're going over right now, or that we just recently went over, I should say, it changes everything. And now people are taking another harder look at Enoch because now all of a sudden, with that roadblock removed, people are now open to hearing what Enoch actually has to say. Right. Of course, we're also getting people, I'm getting people sending me stuff from people who says the Book of Enoch is heresy. And there's like, I don't know, half dozen, maybe 10 of the same tired old arguments that people raise. And like, yeah, that one's dumb. Here's why. This one's ridiculous. Why? I don't know.
Yeah, I've tried contending with and speaking and trying to rationalize with individuals like that, but I just find it's not even worth my time and effort. Let them believe as they want to, and I'll just continue on with what I do and the work that I do and the way that I teach. But I don't know if I told you, but Edward Henry and I, when we talked and we shared information, when he released his book, he was kind of attacking me because of that. He believed Book of Enoch was heresy, and so I went through a whole trying to speak with him on all that, but he wasn't receptive, so I just found that it was best to just leave it alone.
Really? Edward Hendry, huh?
Yeah.
I would think, man, he would get right on board with it, especially since, with his research on flat Earth, that he would have been like, wow. But, of course, if you come at it and you hear, if you come from the Sethite line or whatever, that's been, most seminaries are pumping pastors out to talk about, you can't get past the first few chapters of Genesis. Enoch. So,
yeah, that's where he was with regard. He did not believe, as far as the angels mating with the daughters of man, creating a race of giants. He just thought all that was heresy. And because of that, he believed that the Book of Enoch was something that shouldn't even be read or considered as well. And so the whole premise of my book, as far as, utilizing biblical cosmology to unlock it, he wasn't even open to examining it. And so we shared a lot of emails over a short period of time, and finally I was like, I just don't have time for this, and it's not worth the effort, so let's just agree to disagree.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me, man. They say a lesson's repeated until it's learned. I've been kicked back in this class so many times it's not even funny, because I'm passionate about the things that I believe.
Yes.
And I want people to get it.
Yes.
I want people to understand it. But, there's something like even Dave Murphy. He pops up every now and then on my wall with the whole Black Hebrew Israel thing. And I'm like, dude, I've already addressed so many of the arguments that now I'm just being repetitive. But, it's like one of these things. And there's several of them that will come on there and just poke you like relentlessly, poke. And every statement they make, I can think of a 10-minute long argument that I'm going to have to type out to
right.
Of course they've got like 50 of them. So I say to myself, okay, I can literally spend all freaking week doing this.
Yes.
Or I could just say, nope, I'm not going to play rope-a-dope with you. I'm moving on.
Right.
Believe whatever you want, that I'm evading you because I'm too chicken to deal with it. No, I just don't.
Yeah. Yep, you are a lot better at responding and replying to people, and I try to even limit completely my time on Facebook just to avoid all of that.
It's good for you. I've got some kind of mental disorder that I wake up in the morning and go, gee, I think I'll check Facebook. And
right.
Although I did recently rescheduled my gym time for a little bit earlier in the day, so that I don't do that. So because if the first thing you do is wake up and check Facebook, you're screwed.
Yeah, you're gonna be there for a little while.
There for a while. Although I hadn't been to the gym because of lockdown and everything in months, and we did leg day for the first time in like months, and like right now everything's spaghetti right now. So much pain.
Right on.
Well, dude. But oh well, I need to get refocused, and that's what I've been doing today. I actually went to my seat office, and it's like, okay, I'm going through emails. I'm gonna get refocused and make things. And the guy right across from me in my professional office is a chiropractor, and he had several clients. Yeah, he had several clients come and go, and then he had an opening where there's nobody there, and he says, "Hey, dude," he's like, "I just got to because I got my sign, my seed poster like outside my door with my name and credentials and stuff on it." And he's like, "Dude, I gotta say, man, I looked into, what your seed project is, and I saw your YouTube channel, and man, I'm hooked on your YouTube videos. Like, I've been watching your YouTube videos and showing everybody." I'm like, "Oh,
awesome."
I'm sorry, dude." he goes, no, man, I love it, man. Your stuff's awesome. And he's like, "Anything you need, man, just come over here, man. I'm happy to help you." I'm like, "Wow, okay." It's like,
yeah, awesome.
Adjustment or anything. I'm like, "Okay, yeah, cool." So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a true blessing. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Because you never know when you can, need just a slight, quick adjustment, and to have a friend that's willing to do that for you. That's a true blessing.
Definitely. Yeah, and with Jeremiah, our son's issues, I told he's like, "We can totally work on that." So I'm like, "Oh man, awesome, dude."
Awesome.
Just that, got to count the blessings, man, because there's so much crap going on in the world, and I'm like, turn the TV off, even the radio, man. It's like every 5 minutes on the radio, like 15 more pro, whatever, it's like this tally going on, and I'm like, turn it off.
Right.
So,
yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I think are we on chapter 90? I
think it's 90 in the Lawrence. I think you did 90 in the Charles already.
Okay.
So, how much time we got?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Might be able to get through this in 5 minutes. Okay, let me pull that up here.
Yeah, it's short for me.
Okay. 90 in the Lawrence. And now, my son Methuselah, call to me all thy brethren, and assemble for me all the children of thy mother, for a voice calls me, and the Spirit is poured out upon me, that I may show you everything which shall happen to you forever. Then Methuselah went, called to him all his brethren, and assembled his kindred. And conversing with all his children in truth, Enoch said, Hear, my children, every word of your father, and listen in uprightness to the voice of my mouth, for I would gain your attention while I address you. My beloved, be attached to integrity and walk in it. Approach not integrity with a double heart, nor be associated with double-minded men, but walk, my children, in righteousness, which will conduct you in good paths, and be truth your companion. And I know that oppression will exist and prevail on earth. Interesting timing. That on earth great punishment shall in the end take place, and that there shall be a consummation of all iniquity, which shall be cut off from its root, and every fabric raised by it shall pass away. Iniquity, however, shall again be renewed and consummated on earth. Every act of crime and every act of oppression and impiety shall be a second time embraced. When therefore iniquity, sin, blasphemy, tyranny, and every evil work shall increase, and when transgression, impiety, and uncleanness also shall increase, then upon them all shall great punishment be inflicted from heaven. The Holy Lord shall go forth in wrath, and upon them all shall great punishment from heaven be afflicted. The Holy Lord shall go forth in wrath and with punishment, that he may execute judgment upon earth. In those days oppression shall be cut off from its roots, and iniquity with fraud shall be eradicated, perishing from under heaven. Every place of strength shall be surrendered with its inhabitants. With fire shall it be burnt. They shall be brought from every part of the earth, and be cast into a judgment of fire. They shall perish in wrath, and by a judgment overpowering them forever. Righteousness shall be raised up from slumber, and wisdom shall be raised up and conferred upon them. Then shall the roots of iniquity be cut off, sinners perish by the sword, and blasphemers be annihilated everywhere. Those who meditate oppression and those who blaspheme by the sword shall perish. And now, my children, I will describe and point out to you the path of righteousness and the path of oppression. I will again point them out to you, that you may know what is to come. Hear now, my children, and walk in the path of righteousness, but shun that of oppression. For all who walk in the path of iniquity shall perish forever. That's pretty timely.
Mm-hmm. This is very strange, because in the Charles translation, there's chapter 92 first, which is a short introduction, I guess, to 91. Well,
I was looking at what you read last week, and at least in this website, it says next chapter, because I know this is the one you left off, and it had 42 verses, and it ended with, on that night I remembered the first dream, and because of it I wept and was troubled, because that's the last thing you read last time.
Yes.
So I clicked, so it looks like it's missing like 91. It looks like it just went to 92.
Well, actually 92 is after 91, which doesn't make sense to me, but yeah. So I guess 92 is an opening for it, but I'll just go in that order.
Oh, you think 90? Oh, that's right. It is 91. Yeah. It's reversed, 91 and 92.
Yeah.
Well, you can read.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, I'll just read this short passage.
The 92.
92.
Okay.
The book written by Enoch. Enoch indeed wrote this complete doctrine of wisdom, which is praised of all men and a judge of all the earth for all my children who shall dwell on the earth, and for the future generations who shall observe uprightness and peace. Let not your spirit be troubled on account of the times, for the Holy and Great One has appointed days for all things, and the righteous one shall arise from sleep. And all his path and conversation shall be in eternal goodness and grace. He will be gracious to the righteous and give him eternal uprightness, and he will give him power so that he shall be endowed with goodness and righteousness, and he shall walk in eternal light, and sin shall perish in darkness forever, and shall no more be seen from that day.
Your partnership with Sacred Word Publishing goes further than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda, and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
To become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/Sacred Word Publishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Just wanted to quickly remind those of you that are planning on coming to the Sacred Word Revealed Conference, which will be the weekend of September 11th here in Atlanta, Georgia. We're very much looking forward to and hoping that everything will be good by then. And Rob is going to be in attendance, Gary Wayne, Dr. Stephen Pidgeon, Yana Stephen Benoon, my son, Laurel Austin, Dr. Joy Jeffries Pugh, myself, and Nathan Reynolds will all be speaking. And I'm looking forward to, again, the congregation and having a chance to gather, and hopefully the 300 people that we have coming for the conference, that we will be able to gather in that amount of people. And so we'll just pray that it all goes down without a hitch, and looking forward to doing the Georgia Guidestones as well, and hanging out. So just wanted to give people a reminder on all that as well. It's going to be coming up quicker than we realize. But anyways, yeah, we did. Go ahead, Rob.
I was going to say, yeah, for sure. You think, it's September. Yeah, that's going to be here like tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
Have you given any thought to any direction on the theme of the conference? Has it changed, or keeping it the same as you were thinking before, or in light of current events, are you thinking something different?
Well, just the end time mysteries revealed, because I think that, especially now with all that is happening, that really that is kind of the perfect segue into not only all of our work, because many of us have studied and looked into and examined prophecy for a very long time, but certainly with all that is happening now, it is even more relevant, and people are interested in, I guess, how all of us view the events of what's going on now in connection with, all of that with regard to prophecy. And also,
yeah, I tagged you on something on Facebook yesterday. Did you get a chance to look at it at all? It was called The Road to Antichrist, Chapter 2, The Real Agenda.
No, I have not, but I have not been on Facebook today. The last time I was on was before Wednesday when I, listed all the shows, but I will check it out now that you've mentioned something about it.
Yeah, let me screen share it for those who are watching on YouTube here. I wrote, wow, speaking of false flags, I have to say this video has finally pulled together quite a number of missing pieces for me, especially since I had attended the Contact in the Desert conference last year. There was a central thread in many, if not most, of the lectures I heard. It was all about ascension and realizing our own divinity and other such New Age rhetoric. The primary point of this video is a suspicion I've had for some time now, but I just couldn't pull it all together into a cohesive narrative that would convey what I was beginning to sense. This video finally does what I was unable to do, and it's by a ministry called E511 for Ephesians 5:11 Ministries, and it's called Road to Antichrist, Chapter 2, The Real Agenda. First chapter was pretty cool, but Chapter 2 really pulled some things together for me, and it's something I'm going to have to spend more time thinking about. But I had been posting stuff about false flags. Look, I don't know if some of the current events that are going on right now are in fact false flags, if they were real or fraudulent, if anybody died or not. I'm not going to go there. All I know is whenever an event takes place that that has a suspicious money trail and that immediately kicks off an agenda, that makes it very suspicious in my mind. Mm-hmm. And so I was posting, I was like, look, just look into the Gulf of Tonkin and look into 9/11 if you want to, get a feel for false flags and what they can do, what the aftermath of those things can be. And the general premise of this was, a lot of us talk against the New World Order, and we are against it. But what this guy, that produced the video, was saying is like, what if all of that is a satanic false flag? Yes, it's real and it's doing real things, but what if that is meant to fall? Problem, reaction, solution, right? And what if the solution is even more diabolical, but so sinister in its deception that it's not going to look evil at all? And that's the whole idea of what if the secret societies out there have been suppressing the secret to the divinity in all of us? That what if we could just awaken that? And it's this whole ascension thing. And when you look at what they're saying, and he uses lots of quotes from Jordan Maxwell and David Wilcox and Stephen Greer and Alex Jones and a whole bunch of people that are all talking along the same lines of we got to reach a higher level of consciousness and we got to ascend into apotheosis. And all that sounds flowery and nice. That's the original promise in the
garden. Yeah, right.
You will be like God.
Gods, exactly. Yeah. And no good and evil.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, man, you should check it out. It's something I'm going to have to watch again because it's stuff that I've had like this suspicion about, but I couldn't articulate it. I couldn't formulate any kind of real, cohesive dialogue on it to do anything with it until I watched that. I was like, okay, that could send me on an interesting trajectory looking into these things from a different perspective. Mm-hmm.
Well, I will definitely look into it. But that, like you said, the whole promise of godhood and to be like the Most High, to be Christ-like, all of that, it sounds eerily suspicious to me with regard to some of the other stuff that, the promises of New Age and the Ascension and everything. But I will certainly check it out and see what.
Well, it's interesting that our conference got rescheduled for the weekend of 9/11.
Yes, right.
And we're going to see the Georgia Guidestones. So
right.
Some of the things I had planned to speak on, I may still do, but I'm thinking I might kind of craft it around what I'm suspecting this is dealing with. Because, when I came away from the Contact in the Desert conference, that's what almost every, if not every speaker was talking about.
Right.
That the aliens, so-called, were telling them, listen, you guys got to vibrate to a higher, frequency here.
Consciousness.
We're about to show up, and you got to be ready for us when we do.
Mm-hmm.
Which says that as bad as everything is right now, and I've been suspecting this would be the case for a long time, actually for different reasons, but that things are going to get better. And not only are they going to get better, they're going to get a lot better, but it's going to come with strings attached.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
And that's where it gets scary, and where everybody turns on Christians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The whole peace comes sudden destruction.
Yeah. People are saying peace and security.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
It's not crying out for peace and security. They're living in peace and security.
Mm-hmm.
In unwalled cities and things of that nature.
Right.
And, let's face it, for Israel to embrace a Messiah, it's going to have to be a good one,
mm-hmm.
From their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this is why it's making me think, especially after, I watched that video and all the stuff that we're doing here right now and stuff that we've learned in the last 5 years or so. I'm going, okay, Father, how does all of this fit together?
Right.
We got a 5,000 piece puzzle in front of us, and I see corners of, the four corners maybe are filled in, and a couple of splotches in the middle, but there's still a lot to this picture that I'm not.
Yeah.
Are you getting sort of that same vibe?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, again, I think as we accelerate towards even push further and further into this agenda, like this whole thing with the COVID and how all that just came out of the blue. But then now looking back at some of the work and some of the videos of people that have done, as far as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and some of the stuff that they were involved in, how it's all according to plan. And then tying it all together with the protocols and all of that, and the economic crisis, and the forced vaccinations, and the whole martial law, posse comitatus, even this now, the Black Lives Matter, and with the riots on the streets, and the agent provocateurs that they are allowing to take over these demonstrations and to lead them into chaos. The police are stepping back and allowing them to, or somebody's instructing them to allow chaos to unfold. And I think that is all for a greater agenda. And that it was this way even back when in Seattle during the World Trade Organization, going back in, the late 90s and all of that. So there is a certain element which even here in Atlanta, they were talking about all these people that are coming from out of town, and then they were putting whole piles of brick, on these pylons, and making them available so that the riots could just get insane, out of hand. People filling up all these Molotov cocktails and setting things on fire. And so and the people that are trying to protest peaceably, they know that this kind of insanity is not going to help their cause. And yet the people that are, just not that are ready to get crazy, and that have that pack mentality of you get together with a bunch of other mad dogs and it just gets out of hand. They're ready to they're like rabid dogs then, and so these people that are coming in are leading the demonstrations into that kind of chaos. And I believe that the police forces are actually stepping back to allow that kind of stuff to happen because, again, there's a whole agenda of their wanting to be able to crack down and then also to have the military on the streets. I don't know if you've seen, but people have been reporting about how there are, the military police has been now called up and they're all driving together and tanks are being positioned and all this military equipment and gear. And even like with what had happened during Hurricane Katrina with the stripping of posse comitatus, and they're going door to door to disarm American citizens and to remove them from their houses and, to get them out of the city, those kind of things. We see an extension of that happening in these kind of, as far as these protests and the police crackdowns, which they're waiting for something later, in my opinion, as far as what they are wanting to be able to do. Because I believe we are the target. Christians, patriots, people that are God-fearing, God-loving, that stand up for their Second Amendment rights, that we are the enemies of the New World Order. We're the ones that they want to be able to come in and forcefully vaccinate, or the whole thing of where Bill Gates, and they're talking about how you will get some kind of tattoo identifier that says you're okay because you got your vaccines and you're up to date and you're regulated according to what they desire and want from you. And then those that are not, we will be considered domestic terrorists. If you don't want to get the vaccine, or if you refuse to quarantine or get treatment or have your children forcibly, anything that they want to, or tying your driver's license to inoculations or passports or travel, anything. I mean, who knows what kind of twists and turns it's going to take, but I think it's all coming down also to, that you will not be able to buy or sell. And so the whole AI and all of that, certainly in the cryptocurrencies, I mean, everything seems to be tying together for something that we're still not fully aware of. And as far as the picture and the puzzle of truth coming together, I mean, we got corners and maybe an outline here and a few segments here and there on the inner part, but that will all become clearer as we accelerate further and further into the madness, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what Enoch's talking about here.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of amazing because at this time in the historical narrative, this is before the first judgment. And yet he's talking about the judgment that's going to come even after that. After
that, right. Exactly, yes.
Like, they're about 700 years away from total catastrophic annihilation of the whole world by water. But he's like, yeah, but, talking about our times, it being even worse. Yes. There's a Christian rock band that I used to really, not used to, I still love, called Holy Soldier. You ever listen to them?
No, I haven't heard of them.
They were pretty big back in the Striper days and stuff too. Another hair band, kind of the Christian Bon Jovi types or whatever.
Yeah.
But they have a song called "When the Rain Comes Down," and it's talking about in the last days that the sky is going to rain fire, and it's going to become this massive judgment. and they were using, I think the footage was from the movie Knowing with Nicolas Cage, just showing the whole world being consumed by fire.
Mm-hmm.
With that imagery, with that music and the lyrics, I was like, wow, man, this is, people only knew what's coming.
Right.
And Enoch, he's laying it out for Methuselah 700 years before the water judgment.
Right.
About the fire judgment.
Right. Yeah, I heard a pastor talking about, the global warming, and he had mentioned 2 Peter about the fervent heat and the melting of all the elements, and how everybody's worried about the hairspray and the carbon and everything of that nature, and yet we're told that everything's going to be basically brought to, and melted and destroyed at the end of this age.
So I wonder why in the Charles translation it's flipped, because you got.
I'm not sure.
Do you want to read 91 and then?
I'll do that.
Version?
Yeah, because that will catch me up to where you are.
Okay.
All right. 91 after 92 for some reason. And now, my son Methuselah, call to me all thy brothers, and gather together to me all the sons of thy mother. For the word calls me, and the Spirit is poured out upon me, that I may show you everything that shall befall you forever. And thereupon Methuselah went and summoned to him all his brothers, and assembled his relatives, and he spake unto all the children of the righteous, and said, Hear, ye sons of Enoch, all the words of your father, and hearken aright to the voice of my mouth. For I exhort you and say unto you, Beloved, love uprightness, and walk therein, and draw not nigh to uprightness with a double heart. And associate not with those of a double heart, but walk in righteousness, my sons, and it shall guide you on good paths, and righteousness shall be your companion. For I know that violence must increase on the earth, and a great chastisement be executed on the earth, and all unrighteousness come to an end. Yea, it shall be cut off from its roots, and its whole structure be destroyed. And unrighteousness shall again be consummated on the earth, and all the deeds of unrighteousness and of violence, and transgression shall prevail in a twofold degree. And when sin and unrighteousness and blasphemy and violence in all kinds of deeds increase, and apostasy and transgression and uncleanness increase, a great chastisement shall come from heaven upon all these. And the Holy Lord will come forth with wrath and chastisement to execute judgment on earth. In those days violence shall be cut off from its roots, and the roots of unrighteousness together with deceit, and they shall be destroyed from under heaven. And all the idols of the heathen shall be abandoned, and the temples burned with fire, and they shall remove them from the whole earth. And they, the heathen, shall be cast into the judgment of fire, and shall perish in wrath and in grievous judgment forever. And the righteous shall arise from their sleep, and wisdom shall arise and be given unto them. And after that the roots of unrighteousness shall be cut off, and the sinners shall be destroyed by the sword, shall be cut off from the blasphemers in every place, and those who plan violence, and those who commit blasphemy shall perish by the sword. And now I tell you, my sons, and show you the paths of righteousness and the paths of violence. Yea, I will show them to you again, that ye may know what will come to pass. And now hearken unto me, my sons, and walk in the path of righteousness, and walk not in the paths of violence. For all who walk in the paths of unrighteousness shall perish forever.
Let me see. My 91. Yeah, so I'll read my 91, which was, everything's kind of wonky here. It was the short one that you read.
Okay.
So that which was written by Enoch, he wrote all this instruction of wisdom for every man of dignity and every judge of the earth, for all my children who shall dwell upon earth, and for subsequent generations, conducting themselves uprightly and peaceably. Let not your spirit be grieved on account of the times, for the Holy, the Great One, has prescribed a period to all. Let the righteous man arise from slumber. Let him arise and proceed in the path of righteousness in all its paths, and let him advance in goodness and in mercy, and in eternal clemency. Mercy shall be showed to the righteous man. Upon him shall be conferred integrity and power forever. In goodness and in righteousness shall he exist, and shall walk in everlasting light. But sin shall perish in eternal darkness, nor be seen from this time afterwards forevermore. So I don't really have much to comment on that, other than it's a pretty good commentary on our time.
Looking forward to those days. And it seems to also in Isaiah chapter 45, 46, somewhere thereabouts, this also sinks in with all of that.
Did you want to read that? You have that pulled up?
No, I don't have it pulled up.
Okay. All right. I can keep reading if you want.
Yeah, do so. Chapter 90.
Okay, we got
what is 93?
2 minutes before the top of the hour here or something.
Yeah.
For me, it's 92. Let me see how many. I probably won't get to all of it before the break, but we'll give it a shot. After this, Enoch began to speak from a book. And Enoch said concerning the children of righteousness, concerning the elect of the world, and concerning the plant of righteousness and integrity. Concerning these things will I speak, and these things will I explain to you, my children. I, who am Enoch, in consequence of that which has been shown to me, from my heavenly vision and from the voice of the holy angels have I acquired knowledge, and from the tablet of heaven have I acquired understanding. Enoch then began to speak from a book, and said, I have been born the seventh in the first week, while judgment and righteousness wait with patience. But after me, in the second week, great wickedness shall arise, and fraud shall spring forth. In that week, the end of the first shall take place, in which mankind shall be safe. But when the first is completed, iniquity shall grow up, and he shall execute the decree upon sinners. Afterwards, in the third week, during its completion, a man of the plant of righteous judgment shall be selected, and after him the plant of righteousness shall come forever. Subsequently, in the fourth week, during its completion, the visions of the holy and the righteous shall be seen. The order of generation after generation shall take place, and an habitation shall be made for them. Then in the fifth week, during its completion, the house of glory and of dominion shall be erected forever. After that, in the sixth week, all those who are in it shall be darkened. The hearts of all of them shall be forgetful of wisdom, and in it shall a man ascend. And during its completion, he shall burn the house of dominion with fire, and all the race of the elect root shall be dispersed. Afterwards, in the seventh week, a perverse generation shall arise. Abundant shall be its deeds, and all its deeds perverse. During its completion, the righteous shall be selected from the everlasting plant of righteousness, and to them shall be given the sevenfold doctrine of his whole creation.
All right, we'll be right back, everyone.
Your partnership with Sacred Word Publishing goes further than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda, and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/sacredwordpublishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world.
Many truth seekers are constantly studying alone. But there is a place where we can come together. The Digital Readers Club is our online ecclesia meant for those who've forsaken churchianity but still want the closeness of a family to study with. Join us every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time to put together the puzzle pieces of truth scattered throughout the ancient scriptures.
Hello everybody. As you know, in our Digital Readers Club, we just finished the Great Commission 3 on the end time apocalypses and are now moving forward because of your vote into the Yahushua Christ, the infancy, gospels, early childhood, and lost year narratives. And so in this particular book, and the reason I compiled it is because there's only one account in the entire Bible that relays anything with regard to the youth of Christ, and it is the story of when he's 13 years old and he leaves Mary and Joseph, and they, retracing their steps, find him teaching the rabbis and the elders in the Holy Temple, the Jerusalem Temple, about the mysteries of the heavens. And so I wanted those of us that are believers and that hold and have faith in Christ to have the fullness of the stories and the accounts of his early life that are available to those that wish to know more. And so that was the reason for the compilation of all of these accounts, is to give you better insight into who our Savior Messiah is and how he was, even in his youth, without question, he was the fullness, the incarnation of God, and that he had the authority even then of life and death, and that Mary used even his bathwater and his swaddling clothes to heal leprosy and to bring people out of their demonic possessions. And so I believe that the study of this material will greatly bless your life and help you to better understand the core tenets of why we believe on him and know without question that salvation is through him.
Tell ye and bring them near. Yea, let them take counsel together. Who hath declared this from ancient time? Who hath told it from that time? Have not I, the Lord? And there is no God else beside me, a just God and a Savior. There is none beside me. All right, brother, I'll turn it back over to you so you can finish up.
Okay. I believe I left off in verse 12, sevenfold doctrine of this whole creation. During the break, I looked up what Dr. Ken Johnson had to say about these chapters. Some pretty interesting stuff, but I'll after you do your reading.
All right.
Afterwards, there shall be another week, the 8th of righteousness, to which shall be given a sword to execute judgment, and justice upon all oppressors. Sinners shall be delivered up into the hands of the righteous, who during its completion shall acquire habitations by their righteousness, and the house of the great king shall be established for celebrations forever. After this, in the 9th week, shall the judgment of righteous be revealed to the whole world. Every work of the ungodly shall disappear from the whole earth. The world shall be marked for destruction, and all men shall be on the lookout for the path of integrity. And after this, on the 7th day of the 10th week, there shall be an everlasting judgment, which shall be executed upon the watchers. And a spacious eternal heaven shall spring forth in the midst of the angels. The former heaven shall depart and pass away. A new heaven shall appear, and all the celestial powers shine with sevenfold splendor forever. Afterwards, likewise, shall there be many weeks, which shall externally exist in goodness and in righteousness. Neither shall sin be named there forever and forever. Who is there of all the children of men capable of hearing the voice of the Holy One without emotion? Who is there capable of thinking his thoughts? Who capable of contemplating all the workmanship of heaven? Who of comprehending the deeds of heaven? He may behold its animation, but not its spirit. He may be capable of conversing respecting it, but not of ascending to it. He may see all the boundaries of these things and meditate upon them, but he can make nothing like them. Who of all men is able to understand the breadth and length of the earth? By whom have been seen the dimensions of all these things? Is it every man who is capable of comprehending the extent of heaven, what its elevation is, and by what it is supported? How many are the numbers of the stars, and where all the luminaries remain at rest?
All right. It's
93 for you.
yeah, it's weird because there's another chapter 91 after this 93, which is
actually Ken Johnson makes note of that. He moves it. He moves that chunk of text, but he mentions note of that happened in Charles' translation.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting. All right, so chapter 93. And after that, Enoch both gave and began to recount from the books. And Enoch said, concerning the children of righteousness, and concerning the elect of the world, and concerning the plant of uprightness, I will speak these things, yea, I, Enoch, will declare them unto you, my sons, according to that which appeared to me in the heavenly vision, and which I have known through the word of the holy angels, and have learnt from the heavenly tablets. And Enoch began to recount from the books and said, I was born the 7th in the 1st week, while judgment and righteousness still endured. And after me there shall arise in the 2nd week great wickedness, and deceit shall have sprung up, and in it there shall be the first end. And in it a man shall be saved, and after it is ended, unrighteousness shall grow up, and a law shall be made for the sinners. And after that, in the 3rd week at its close, a man shall be elected as the plant of righteous judgment, and his posterity shall become the plant of righteousness for evermore. And after that, in the 4th week at its close, visions of the holy and righteous shall be seen, and a law for all generations, and an enclosure shall be made for them. And after that, in the 5th week at its close, the house of glory and dominion shall be built forever. And after that, in the 6th week, all who live in it shall be blinded, and the hearts of all them shall godlessly forsake wisdom. And in it a man shall ascend, and at its close the house of dominion shall be burnt with fire, and the whole race of the chosen root shall be dispersed. And after that, in the 7th week, shall an apostate generation arise, and many shall be its deeds, and all its deeds shall be apostate. And at its close shall be elected the elect righteous of the eternal plant of righteousness, to receive sevenfold instruction concerning all his creation. For who is there of all the children of men that is able to hear the voice of the Holy One without being troubled? And who can think his thoughts And who is there that can behold all the works of heaven? And how should there be one who could behold the heaven? And who is there that could understand the things of heaven? All right, sorry, that was a virus scan came up. And who is there that could understand the things of heaven and see a soul or a spirit and could tell thereof or ascend and see all their ends and think them or do like them? And who is there of all men that could know what is the breadth and the length of the earth, and to whom has been shown the measure of all of them? Or is there any one who could discern the length of the heaven, and how great is its height, and upon what it is founded, and how great is the number of the stars, and where all the luminaries rest?
Want to read that 17 verses, I guess, from 91?
Yeah, I'll do that. It is interesting that this particular portion, though, it's basically describing, the enclosed cosmology, in my opinion. But yeah, we'll get to that afterwards. Chapter 91. And after that there shall be another, the 8th week, that of righteousness, and a sword shall be given to it, that a righteous judgment may be executed on the oppressors, and sinners shall be delivered into the hands of the righteous, and at its close they shall acquire houses through their righteousness. And a house shall be built for the great King in glory forevermore. And all mankind shall look to the path of uprightness. And after that, in the 9th week, the righteous judgment shall be revealed to the whole world, and all the works of the godless shall vanish from all the earth, and the world shall be written down for destruction. And after this, in the 10th week, in the 7th part, there shall be the great eternal judgment, in which he will execute vengeance amongst the angels. And the first heaven shall depart and pass away, and a new heaven shall appear, and all the powers of the heavens shall give sevenfold light. And after that there will be many weeks without number forever, and all shall be in goodness and righteousness, and sin shall no more be mentioned forever.
Look at the Lawrence. Neither shall be former heaven part away, seventh day of the 10th week. So I got through 7. I don't think I did 8. You got 10. It's kind of weird the way this is worded. I'll read what Dr. Ken Johnson had to say about this, because it's
cool.
Actually put some of this into perspective for me anyway. Now he's going off of, I believe, the Charles translation in terms of chapter numbers. And he makes note, he says, somehow the second half of chapter 93 was placed at the end of chapter 91. We've kept the chapter and verse divisions and simply moved that section back into its original place. And he says in chapter 91, where he's first talking to his children, verse 5 is talking about the flood judgment. For I know that violence must increase on the earth, and a great judgment will be executed on the earth. All unrighteousness will cease and be cut off at its roots, and its whole structure destroyed. So he's recognizing that as the flood judgment, and then the next verse as the fire judgment. And unrighteousness will a second time be consummated on the earth, and all the deeds of sin, violence, and godlessness will prevail. When sin, blasphemy, and unrighteousness, and he continues, I'm not going to read all that, but he recognizes that as the second judgment. And then he talks about resurrection of the Messiah in chapter 92, where it says the righteous one will arise from his sleep. He's identifying that with Yeshua rising from the dead. And then in chapter 93, he talks about the 10-week prophecy of Enoch here, and he says there will be 10 periods of 700 years, a day for a century. AM stands for Anno Mundi, the year of creation. So he's got it marked from day one or year one of creation in AM time, reckoning. Also parenthetically with what we would call BC reckoning. So he says, I was born on the 7th day in the first week. Enoch was born at 6:22 a.m. or 3,303 BC. The 7th day of the first week would occur between 600 and 700 a.m. Second week being from 7:01 to 1400 a.m. or 3225 to 2525 BC, being the second week. That's when extreme wickedness began in the first week. The result of this wickedness was the flood, which occurred afterwards 1656 a.m. or 2269 BC at the beginning of the third week. And third week he has identified from 1401 to 2100 a.m. or 2225 through 1825 BC, which takes us into the time frame of Abraham. And then he says the fourth week is from 2101 to 2800 a.m. or 1825 to 1125 BC, talking about after that, the fourth week, visions of the holy and righteous God at Mount Sinai. He's talking about will be seen, and the Mosaic law for all generations will be put into an enclosure, and he makes note of that being the tabernacle. Which, if Andy Hoy is correct, the original tabernacle was a model of the biblical cosmology model. Fifth week, he has identified as 2801 to 3500 a.m. or 1125 to 425 BC. That being the time period of the Solomon's temple being built. The house of dominion will be built, forever glorified. In the sixth week, he has identified as 3501 to 4200 a.m. or 425 BC to AD 275. And it says, and that's talking about the man. It says in verse 8, after that, in the sixth week, all who live in it will be blinded, and their hearts will godlessly forsake wisdom. In it, a man, he has parenthetically Jesus, will ascend, and at its close, the house of dominion, or the Herod's temple, will be burnt with fire, and the whole race of the chosen root, i.e. Israel, will be dispersed. And I had highlighted that when that jumped out at me before reading Ken Johnson. When I was listening to you read about it, I was like, boy, that sounds awful like it's going to talk about a man ascending and then the house being burnt down.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, well, that definitely seems to fit the timeline of Yeshua in 78.
Yeah. There shall be no stone left stand.
Yeah.
One on top of the other.
He says, footnote, temple burnt in 3995 a.m. or 70 A.D. The Roman dispersion of Israel occurred in 4057 a.m. or AD 132 after the rebellion led by Simon Bar Kokhba. The seventh week he has identified as 4201 to 4900 a.m. or AD 275 or 275 to 975. And that's where apostate generation will rise. The rebellion will manifest in many different ways. At its close, the righteous elect, he has the Jewish believers in parentheses of the eternal plan of righteousness will be rewarded with a sevenfold instruction. And he says advancements in science begin to come from the Jewish people sevenfold compared to the Gentiles. I've heard that before too, that when you look at a lot of major inventions in history, coming from people that claim Jewish ancestry. We have God's omniscience. He has identified in verses 11 through the end of the chapter. And then in that part of 91 that you read, the eighth week representing 4901 to 5600 a.m. or 975 AD to 1675 AD. And he identifies that with the Protestant Reformation. During this time, the Protestants took over many Catholic churches and destroyed the idols in them. These churches became their houses of worship. Also, this is the time of the creation of the Geneva and King James Bible in the common language of the people. And in the ninth week, he has identified as 5601 to 6300 a.m. or AD 1675 to 2375. So we're in the ninth week in this prophecy right now. And he identifies this as the reestablishment of the nation of Israel and the Great Tribulation and the beginning of the millennium. And then he says, the seventh part is the last 100 years of the 700 period. This will be between 2975 and 3075. If the millennium, he identifies that as the millennial reign kingdom. He says, if the millennial, this being the 10th week identified as 6301 to 7000 AM or AD 2375 to 3075. That's what Ken Johnson, identifies the millennial reign taking place. And he says, if the millennial reign ends with the great white throne judgment, then the second coming of Christ should occur sometime between 1975 and 2075, which I would agree with. I have for quite some time been saying that I believe that the second coming would happen, after I died of old age. I'm 51 now, so I'm headed in that direction. Recent events have made me kind of speed up that timeline in my mind. Right. Obviously, but going back to even some of my earlier work, I was keeping my eye pretty closely on the time period between 2028 and 2045. There was just so much that was leading to that time period in prior research that I had done. And specifically, when you go to like a website like 2045.com, 2045.com, and you read about the 2045 Strategic Social Initiative and what scientists from all over the world have planned and are actively working toward the goals that they have set. And of those goals and the years that they gave, because this has been around since like at least 2010, if not earlier, most of the timeline goals that they had set for where we are now, 2020, they've achieved. And so, or have become very close to achieving. And if they continue on the track that they're on right now and are successful with their developments, their stated objective is to achieve immortality, we would say parenthetically, apart from God, by the year 2045. Wow. You have Time magazine articles had coming out, and you had a picture of a dude with a plug in the back of his head, and the headline said 2045, the year man becomes immortal. So, if you just go to 2045.com and just spend time on that website, reading what their plans are, reading what their objectives are, read what they've already achieved, and read what they're trying to achieve, it's hard to imagine humanity surviving, like Christ said, if those days not be shortened, no flesh would be. No flesh left, yeah. Because we're not, we're no longer in the image of God at that point. Right. Humanity thinks it's great strives and advancement. But the reality of it is we're blending ourselves with animals, with machines, with all kinds of things that are corrupting that God created to be his house. And so that takes me back to Genesis 6:3, where it says, man's days shall be 120 years because he is flesh. My spirit will no longer dwell with him. It's like, well, we've been flesh since the garden. What he's saying in Genesis 6:3 is that in the days, the latter 120 years leading up to the flood, the latter years of Methuselah, is Joshua 4:18 and Jubilees 7:24, I believe, are the addresses that say that men began to blend themselves with animals and blend animals together with other things and plants and all kinds of stuff. And that's when all flesh became corrupt, Genesis 6:12. So, Yeshua said, as it was in the days of Noah, not Jared, so shall it be the coming of the Son of Man. Well, we're in those days. And so this whole passage of Enoch that we just read is interesting because you have the 70 weeks of Daniel, and people have understood those weeks as periods of time, and the 70th week and all that stuff being the tribulation. Well, here we have the 10 weeks of Enoch with a week being 7 days, but each day in this case representing 100 years. So 10 700-year periods, or 7,000 years. So
yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about Dr. Ken Johnson's work is I'm a timeline guy and loves numbers and stuff. Like he did it with the Book of Joshua too. Like he put chronological time markers in there, AM, BC, AD, showing when events were taking place. And so I really appreciate him doing that. I don't know if he's right, but it makes sense to me the way he's got this chapters that we just read outlined and seems to fit.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I was looking at the Lawrence translation, and he's got a lot of some footnotes with regard to some of that and similarity. And so, but yeah, I'm definitely going to get his work on both the Book of Enoch and Jubilees. And I appreciate you sharing and reading, because I think it has added a great deal to the studies in sharing, an alternative perspective from that of our own. And certainly I have great respect for his work as well. And so to have that viewpoint certainly has been enlightening.
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of this, frankly, to me, when you just read it, it sounds so cryptic. Like, I don't know if you've ever read like the prophecies of Nostradamus. They're so cryptic and open to, creative interpretation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like reading a fortune cookie, a batch of fortune cookies. Okay. And it's for me, when I just read through some of this, so I appreciate, a greater mind than mine, like Dr. Ken Johnson, looking at it, breaking it down, and trying to line it up with, historical context, and it makes sense. At least to me, it does.
Mm-hmm. And this whole thing on 2045.com, I'm definitely going to check that out. But I, like you, and like what Ken Johnson was talking about with regard to whether you believe, the creation of Israel as a Zionist state and project is connected to the Rothschilds or was prophetic in its unfolding. I do believe it to be an indicator for us. And if just looking at the timeline for Psalms 90, with a generation being 70 years or 80 years in strength, that also puts us to 2027, 2028, which I think is going to be a significant time just because of the ending of the timeline for what it mentions in Scripture as the end of a generation, and with my interpretation of the blooming of the fig tree. And so 2028, I think, is going to be significant in some manner to the unfolding of how things are going.
Yeah. I think I have time to share this maybe before the break. Let me see. We go 3 minutes before the break.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is 7 minutes long, so I'll have to play it when we come back from the break. It's too long. I want to play the they got a video. It's a 7 minute, 13-second long video on 2045, a new era for humanity. But if you go to 2045.com, right there on the front page, it says the 2045 Avatar Project milestones. Avatar A, 2015 to 2020. So that's today. A robotic copy of a human body remotely controlled via BCI, which is brain computer interface. And like, I've been seeing stuff on that actually for quite a while now. Mm-hmm. Avatar B, 2020 to 2025, an avatar in which a human brain is transplanted at the end of one's life. So, you're about to die, no problem. Just take your brain out, put it inside.
Right. And that whole movie Avatar was just like that as well.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's been lots of movies depicting this kind of stuff, but truth is becoming stranger than fiction pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Avatar C, 2030 to 2035, an avatar with an artificial brain in which a human personality is transferred at the end of one's life. So rather than just putting human tissue, they're just taking like the human engrams, if you will, and transposing them onto,
Crazy. All right, we'll be right back for final episode, everyone.
Many truth seekers are constantly studying alone. But there is a place where we can come together. The Digital Readers Club is our online ecclesia meant for those who've forsaken churchianity, but still want the closeness of a family to study with. Join us every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time to put together the puzzle pieces of truth scattered throughout the ancient scriptures.
Hello, everybody. As you know, in our Digital Readers Club, we just finished the Great Commission 3 on the end time apocalypses and are now moving forward because of your vote into the Yahushua Christ, the infancy, gospels, early childhood, and lost year narratives. And so in this particular book, and the reason I compiled it is because there's only one account in the entire Bible that relays anything with regard to the youth of Christ, and it is the story of when he's 13 years old and he leaves Mary and Joseph, and they, retracing their steps, find him teaching the rabbis and the elders in the Holy Temple, the Jerusalem Temple, about the mysteries of the heavens. And so I wanted those of us that are believers and that hold and have faith in Christ to have the fullness of the stories and the accounts of his early life that are available to those that wish to know more. And so that was the reason for the compilation of all of these accounts, is to give you better insight into who our Savior Messiah is and how he was, even in his youth, without question, he was the fullness, the incarnation of God, and that he had the authority even then of life and death, and that Mary used even his bathwater and his swaddling clothes to heal leprosy and to bring people out of their demonic possessions. And so I believe that the study of this material will greatly bless your life and help you to better understand the core tenets of why we believe on him and know without question that salvation is through him.
Everyday questions arise.
Are the stories in the Bible true?
What if I told you that there are hundreds of confirming witnesses,
which give intricate detail to the stories in the Bible?
Have you ever found yourself deep in the rabbit hole with questions that no one seemed to have the answers to? Join us every other Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time for our Ask Me Anything series with author and researcher Zen Garcia, as he sheds light on the mysteries which have us all searching together.
All right, welcome back, everybody, for final segment. Let me turn it back over to you, Rob. I think you had one more thing as far as the 2045 project.
I sure did, and all of a sudden, my monitor just went blank. I was literally just about to share it, and wow, that's weird. Like, it was working right during the break, and then all of a sudden, boop, not going to work. That's so bizarre. Well, anyway, I'll just keep... oh, there it is. Pop back up again. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Very strange. Okay, again, 2045.com on the main page. I was talking about the various milestones. They got a picture there, a diagram showing various avatars from 2015 to 2045. And 2030 through 35 is talking about just transferring your whole personality. You know, then never mind take your brain out. Just transfer everything that was in your brain from organic into inorganic material into a computer. That's a decade from now. That's what their plan is. And then 2040 to 2045 is a hologram-like avatar. And that's when they say, hey, look, we've just reached immortality. But I'll see if I can play this video. I'm going to turn the channel up that has your voice on it. So don't speak, because if you do, it'll be like really loud, because I'm going to have to turn it up for this.
I'm just going to mute myself.
Just for a second here. Okay.
The world is on the verge of global change. The speed of data transmission has increased by multiples of millions. The rate of globally significant events and that of discoveries and crises is growing exponentially. Our civilization is like an uncaptained ship sailing on rough seas with neither chart nor compass, all the while moving faster and faster. The time we have to make the right decisions is shorter and shorter. We are facing the choice to fall into a new dark age, into affliction and degradation, or to find a new model for human development and create not simply a new civilization, but a new mankind. Historic crises show that to break the deadlock, we need technological revolution. It is clear that today's revolution will also require the deepest social transformation. The world's community and leaders should encourage mankind, instead of wasting resources on solving momentary problems, to focus on the technologies of the future: nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, cognitive technology, genetics, and robotics. Doing so will allow us to find new sources of energy, create fundamentally new architecture and transportation, allow unprecedented developments of human cognitive abilities, refine artificial intelligences, and brain-computer interfaces, simulate complex systems, create humanoid robots and cyborgs, and with the help of nanorobots, we may develop manageable matter. Find ways to transfer one's personality to an artificial carrier. Yet what we need is not just another technological revolution, but a new civilizational paradigm. We need new philosophy and ideology, new ethics, new culture and new psychology, and even new metaphysics. We must reset our limits, go beyond ourselves, beyond the Earth, and beyond the solar system. This is an adequate response to the challenges of our time. Thus, new reality and future man will arise. Could it happen spontaneously, by itself? Unlikely. Humanity does not have a master plan of its development. It seeks stability. It lives in the present and does not plan. It preserves the status quo and tries to escape development. It does not tend to map future centuries and take responsibility for evolution. In consumer society's culture, there is no evolutionary vocabulary and rhetoric. To break the deadlock, the Russia 2045 movement was founded. It is a mega project intended to reach new heights and meanings. We intend to create a new vector for civilization, aimed at constant human development and evolution. As happened with the mega projects of the last century, the nuclear and the space programs, we integrate the latest discoveries and developments from the sciences: physics, energetics, aeronautics, bioengineering, nanotechnology, neurology, cybernetics, cognitive science. May everlasting spiritual ideals and values help us avoid going astray. Our project will give new meanings to the millions of people on Earth, will become a result of their joint creativity, and will lead us out of the impasse. Away from the murder of nature and physical death, forward to the realm of freedom and creativity, to the depths of the ocean and to the stars, to the infinite universe of our inner world. Our forecast for the next 40 years. February 2012. Global Future 2045 Congress is held in Moscow. It is a debate platform for discussion of our civilization's prospects for development. 2012 to 2013. The global economic and social crises are exacerbated. The debates on the global paradigm of future development intensifies. New transhumanist movements and parties emerge. Russia 2045 transforms into World 2045. Simultaneously, the 2045.com international social network for open innovation is expanding. Here, anyone interested may propose a project, take part in working on it, or fund it, or both. In the network, there are scientists, scholars, researchers, financiers, and managers. 2013 to 2014. New centers working on cybernetic technologies for the development of radical life extension rise. The race for immortality starts. 2015 to 2020. The Avatar is created. A robotic human copy controlled by thought via brain-computer interface. It becomes as popular as a car. In Russia and in the world appear, in testing mode, several breakthrough projects. Android robots to replace people in manufacturing tasks. Android robot servants for every home. Thought-controlled avatars to provide telepresence in any place of the world and abolish the need for business trips. Flying cars. Thought-driven mobile communications built into the body or sprayed onto the skin. 2020 to 2025. An autonomous system providing life support for the brain and allowing it interaction with the environment is created. The brain is transplanted into an Avatar B. With Avatar B, man receives new, expanded life. 2025. The new generation of avatars provides complete transmission of sensations from all 5 sensory robot organs to the operator. 2030 to 2035. Rebrain. The colossal project of brain reverse engineering is implemented. World science comes very close to understanding the principles of consciousness. 2035. The first successful attempt to transfer one's personality to an alternative carrier. The epoch of cybernetic immortality begins. 2040 to 2050. Bodies made of nanorobots that can take any shape arise alongside hologram bodies. 2045 to 2050. Drastic changes in social structure and in scientific and technological development. All the prerequisites for space expansion are established. For the man of the future, war and violence are unacceptable. The main priority of his development is spiritual self-improvement. A new era dawns. The era of neo-humanity.
Yeah. After all that, they finally decided to get spiritual.
Right. Yeah. A brave new world order. Yeah, but we know that they've been trying to push, and why not? Because you escape judgment. You don't have to worry about being good or having any kind of moral virtue or having a God actually judge and condemn you for behavior or reward you for blessing. So.
Well, yeah. In the atheist paradigm, they don't have a concept of eternal life like you and I do. They pretty much think, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's right. It. Game over. So, what if I can prolong my ashes, right? And, put my brain into a machine or just transfer my personality into a machine. And, eventually everybody's living in the Matrix. Mm-hmm. Like, right. Digital Matrix, like everybody, exactly. Ghost in the machine kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who needs flesh bodies when you can have these cool cybernetic, holographic with wings, and you could take on whatever shape or appearance you like.
Well, yeah, that's what they're saying with the nanotechnology. You could do exactly that. You could morph yourself into whatever you want to be. And it's like after all that, they're going to seek spiritual development. What? Well, first of all, the whole thing's based on that there is no spiritual, side of things. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, and this goes to what I was saying earlier. This is the initial promise in the garden, right? You shall be God.
Yes.
Turn yourself into God. And the ones that are going to be standing in the way of that are, us, Christians.
Right.
And get rid of us.
It reminds me of a movie I saw, and I can't remember the name of it, but basically it was this exact theme just on steroids, because everybody had a second, like an alternative personality, a robot or cybernetic embodiment that they would rather be in. And so they would, like virtual reality, project themselves into and upload themselves to these bodies. And that's what they spent all their time in. And, in the meantime, their regular flesh bodies were just withering away.
Laying on a
wasting
bed.
away, yeah.
Probes on
somewhere. Right, exactly. While they were connected into this whole matrix.
Yeah, that was a Bruce Willis movie, I think.
Yeah, Bruce Willis. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah.
Surrogates.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly what this all reminded me of.
Yeah.
Crazy
times. Let me see, what's the next chapter here? Oh, that's pretty short. I can read it.
All right, sounds good.
Switch over again. Oh, there goes my monitor again. What is the deal with that? Well, I'll just
lose connection.
I don't know. It's like OBS is just deciding to act weird, I guess.
Okay.
Well, I'll just read it, and if it pops up, I'll take the screen.
Sure.
Chapter 93. And now let me exhort you, my children, to love righteousness and to walk in it. Oh, wait a minute. I think I know what the deal is. I think it's because I had screen share set up on Skype, because that's the only way I could get the audio.
You're right.
So let me take that off. Stop sharing. There you go. That was it.
All right.
That's good to know in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it won't take the audio from the computer through for the radio. It won't. It will for YouTube, but it won't for Truth Frequency Radio. Okay. Now let me exhort you, my children, to love righteousness and to walk in it. For the paths of righteousness are worthy of acceptation, but the paths of iniquity shall suddenly fail and be diminished. To men of note in their generation, the paths of oppression and death are revealed, but they keep far from them and do not follow them. Now, too, let me exhort you who are righteous, not to walk in the paths of evil and oppression, nor in the paths of death. Approach them not, that you may not perish, but covet, and choose for yourselves righteousness and a good life. Walk in the paths of peace, that you may live and be found worthy. Retain my words in your inmost thoughts, and obliterate them not from your hearts. For I know that sinners counsel men to commit crime craftily. They are not found in every place, nor does every counsel possess a little of them. Woe to those who build up iniquity and oppression, and who lay the foundation of fraud, for suddenly shall they be subverted and never obtain peace. Woe to those who build up their houses with crime, for from their very foundations shall their houses be demolished, and by the sword shall they themselves fall. Those, too, who acquire gold and silver shall justly and suddenly perish. Woe to you who are rich, for in your riches have you trusted, but from your riches you shall be removed, because you have not remembered the Most High in the days of your prosperity. You shall be removed, because you have not remembered the Most High in the days of your prosperity. It says it twice there. You have committed blasphemy and iniquity, and are destined to the day of the effusion of blood, to the day of darkness, and to the day of the great judgment. This I declare and point out to you, that he who created you will destroy you. When you fall, he will not show you mercy, but your Creator will rejoice in your destruction. Let those then who shall be righteous among you in those days detest sinners and the ungodly.
All right. 94. And I now say unto you, my sons, love righteousness and walk therein. For the paths of righteousness are worthy of acceptation, but the paths of unrighteousness shall suddenly be destroyed and vanish. and to certain men of a generation shall the paths of violence and of death be revealed, and they shall hold themselves afar from them, and shall not follow them. And now I say unto you, the righteous, walk not in the paths of wickedness, nor in the paths of death, and draw not nigh to them, lest ye be destroyed. But seek and choose for yourself righteousness and an elect life, and walk in the paths of peace, and ye shall live and prosper. And hold fast my words in the thoughts of your hearts, and suffer them not to be effaced from your hearts. For I know that sinners will tempt men to evilly entreat wisdom, so that no place may be found for her, and no manner of temptation may minish. Woe to those who build unrighteousness and oppression, and lay deceit as a foundation, for they shall be suddenly overthrown, and they shall have no peace. Woe to those who build their houses with sin, for from all their foundations shall they be overthrown, and by the sword shall they fall. And those who acquire gold and silver in judgment suddenly shall perish. Woe to you, ye rich, for ye have trusted in your riches, and from your riches shall ye depart, because ye have not remembered the Most High in the days of your riches. Ye have committed blasphemy and unrighteousness, and have become ready for the day of slaughter, and the day of darkness, and the day of the great judgment. Thus I speak and declare unto you, he who hath created you will overthrow you, and for your fall there shall be no compassion. And your Creator will rejoice at your destruction, and your righteous ones in those days shall be a reproach to the sinners and the godless.
Yeah, I don't really have anything. Let me see if there's anything jump out at you.
No, I mean, this is pretty cut and dry with regard to the harvest, the wicked and the righteous. But I did want to revisit really quickly before we move on, just that passage where it was talking about, the structure of the creation. And that was at 93, I think. I'll just read it. And who is there of all men that could know what is the breadth and the length of the earth, and to whom has been shown the measure of all of them? Or is there anyone who could discern the length of the heaven, and how great is its height, and upon what is founded? And how great is the number of the stars, and where all the luminaries rest? And so in my mind, this is showing, the same thing with regard to the enclosure of what Isaiah speaks about in 40:22, with the earth and the curtain of the stars above it, the heavens spread out above it, as taking on the form of a tent or a tabernacle. And, with this description, it seems to be alluding to the same thing, that, the earth, because if it's a sphere, how does that even make sense?
Yeah. I think it was actually even surprisingly more clear in the Lawrence translation. Let's see. Let me just switch it back over. In the Charles, it says, "Is there a man that can know the breadth and the length of the earth?" Showing the measures there, or anyone who could discern the length of the heaven and how great is its height. Yeah, okay, that's about the same. So that was Charles, and Lawrence says, comprehending the extent of heaven, what its elevation is, and by what it is supported.
Yeah, so that would again be the foundation, which would be the floor of the tent.
Supported.
Yeah.
Even in the Charles, it says, upon what is it founded?
Right, exactly, yeah. Yeah, so
yeah, good call. I mean, that, again, that is the cosmology of these people.
Right,
the biblical authors, the canonized text, as well as, the author of Enoch here. that you can measure linear measurement of the earth, the plane of the earth, and that heaven is attached to the earth, as Amos, what is it, Amos 9, Amos 2:9 or 9:6 or which one is it? 2:9?
9:6, I think.
9:6. I always get those flipped because I'm always using Amos either for biblical cosmology or for the size of the Amorites. In my mind, I get it flipped because Amos, the Amorites, the size of the cedar tree.
Yeah, cedar tree, right.
And then it also talks about the firmament attached to the earth,
right?
Which is what it shows right here in the text you just read from Enoch.
You want to try to make it through the next one?
Sure. Let me see what.
It's short, I think.
Let me see. Ding, ding, ding. So it must be 94 for me, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that my eyes were clouds of water, that I might weep over you, and pour forth my tears like rain, and rest from the sorrow of my heart. Who has permitted you to hate and to transgress? Judgment shall overtake you, ye sinners. The righteous shall not fear the wicked, because God will again bring them into your power, that you may avenge yourselves of them according to your pleasure. Woe to you, who shall be so bound by execrations that you cannot be released from them, the remedy being far removed from you on account of your sins. Woe to you, who recompense your neighbor with evil, for you shall be recompensed according to your works. Woe to you, ye false witnesses, you who aggravate iniquity, for you shall suddenly perish. Woe to you, ye sinners, for you reject the righteous, for you receive or reject at pleasure those who commit iniquity, and their yoke shall prevail over you.
Charles, 95. Oh, that my eyes were a cloud of waters, that I might weep over you, and pour down my tears as a cloud of waters, that so I might rest from my trouble of heart. Who has permitted you to practice reproaches and wickedness, and so judgment shall overtake you, sinners? Fear not the sinners, ye righteous, for again will the Lord deliver them into your hands, that ye may execute judgment upon them according to your desires. Woe to you who fulminate anathemas, which cannot be reversed. Healing shall therefore be far from you because of your sins. Woe to you who requite your neighbor with evil, for ye shall be requited according to your works. Woe to you, lying witnesses, and to those who weigh out injustice, for suddenly shall ye perish. Woe to you, sinners, for ye persecute the righteous, for ye shall be delivered up and persecuted because of injustice, and heavy shall be its yoke be upon you.
Boy, amen to that, man. I mean, I was just praying that last night, just like, God, like, how long are you going to, like, I mean, why is it that we, as believers, almost instantaneously reap what we sow? You know what I mean? It's like you do something, boom, you know.
Right.
But it seems like the wicked just to never reap what they sow. I mean, I mean, and I constantly have to repent to him. I'm like, Father, please forgive me. But this is, I'm just venting my frustration because, I don't get it. Like, you know, I know that you're long suffering and all that, not willing that any should perish, but all should come to repentance. But meanwhile, a whole lot of people are suffering here. You know, and I long for this day when the wicked finally reap what they sow. Yes,
me too. Yeah, I watched the trials of Jeffrey Epstein and how, you know, he just abused so many underage people, and how there were so many that were tied to him, and then, you know, him being suicided in that manner, that kind of just everything else and all the connections dissipated. But there was a lot of wicked and evil people part of that whole trafficking and everything.
Yeah.
All right, brother. That was another good show.
Awesome, man.
See you next week. God bless all. Good night.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this video and this broadcast. We appreciate all of you, and thank you for your patronage. Please do like and subscribe and share with your friends. God bless all of you in your seeking.